Hello, I'm Sandy Rosenthal with Beat the Big Guys. And for this episode, I would like to just step back and take a moment and celebrate the first 5 episodes of the podcast on how to beat the big guys. This is something that I've been dreaming about doing for the past decade. When I first started sounding the alarm and trying to get the truth out, there was no podcast I could listen to, and I had to learn how to do it all on the job. So now I'm just so excited about sharing tools, tips, and tricks that you can start using right now. This is my chance for you to help your communities be better with secrets that usually only very high powered, high paying PR companies know anything about. You can find your power. There is so much you can do, but I feel like it shouldn't be so hard. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you. And you know what? You've got nothing to be afraid of. These past 5 episodes can be so useful, and there's more to come. In the first episode, which was one of my favorites, it was with the great General Russell Honore, who brought order to the city of New Orleans when the levees broke. But we started out talking about what makes a great parade horse. The general has a parade horse, and we talked all about his pet horse, and we had a lot of fun before we started moving on to nuts and bolts. And that is, you don't have to be an expert if you're trying to change the world or trying to change your community. Experts can help you. You can bring in the advice of other experts. You have that a- as something that you can do. That's a tool that you can use. When I first started sounding the alarm with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which is an engineering outfit, the largest in the world, I wasn't an engineer, and I didn't have the advice of an engineer for a full 6 months. So to start out, you don't have to be yourself an engineer. Or you don't. So restarting, to start out, you don't yourself have to be an expert. Now, don't let that stop you. My second episode was with the great Harry Shearer and the many multifaceted, talented Harry Shearer. You may know him as one of the many voices of The Simpsons, but he has a lot more talents than that. And we talked about how it's important to make your message as relevant to as big an audience as possible. The more support you can get, the bigger audience you can get, the easier it is to get your job done. And you'd be surprised, it's not hard to make your issue relevant. And I'll give you an example on something that I'm working on in my own neighborhood right now. In our neighborhood, some tennis courts are being ripped out in order to accommodate a private institution. So I'm not making this about people who play tennis. I'm making this about public recreation space. Even if you don't like to go picnicking, one would probably believe in the right to have public space to go picnicking. And so that's just one example. And we give lots of examples in our podcast. My third guest was the very innovative Mr. Sam Pratt. Mr. Pratt led an impressive um, uh, a group of people, and it was really just ordinary neighborhood citizens, and they fought and won against a cement plant that would have been built in right there in their neighborhood, a coal burning cement plant. And this group of neighbors, led by Mr. Pratt, with many advisors, but led by Mr. Pratt, managed to stop that plant from getting built. And that was a done deal. I mean, all the politicians had been bought, the media had been looped in. It was a done deal, and this group of people stopped it. And the discussion on that day was how to start a group of supporters and then how to keep those supporters growing and how to keep them involved. Very, very good information there. And I hope if you haven't listened to that already, I hope that you do. My fourth guest was actually two guests. It was a duo of two very enterprising young women, Ariella Steinhorn and Amber Scora. These two ladies have done a remarkable thing, so remarkable that they were recently featured in the New York Times. These two ladies, pro bono, for free, are offering to help victims of workplace place abuse get their stories into the media at no charge. I mean, normally you pay tens of thousands of dollars to get your story into the media, but these ladies are doing this for free. It's such a wonderful thing. And I'm so impressed with these two ladies. And I hope that you listen to that podcast. My fifth guest is Mr. Ed Bodker, a quiet, warm hearted man who spent 4 years as a chaplain and then went on to recognize that a process that was being touted as the panacea that would save the Louisiana wetlands was actually, in fact, not only was it destroying wetlands, but it was creating, in Mr. Bodker's terms, a giant toxic petri dish. Isn't that frightening? But Mr. Bodker stood up to the bureaucracy, stood up to big business, and got his message across and has succeeded in huge ways in stopping that process in the state of Louisiana. We have a lot to be grateful for. You know, big guys can take so many forms. They can be big pharma, they can be big oil, they can be big chemical, or they could be your state government or your federal government, as in my case, when I fought the US Army Corps of Engineers with 1,000 of my best friends. So, but you can win. You can stand up to them and win. And that's what this podcast is all about. So tune in next week to Beat the Big Guys with me, Sandy Rosenthal, wherever you find your favorite podcast.